you can always shell over the top. And if you can stop the run and then you work, all right, how many do we actually need to stop the run? I think that's key too. It's not like we had to send 100 people to stop the run. It's not like we had to bring 10 into the box every time to do that. We were able to play, gap sound, fundamental, get upfield, cover your, hold the edges, all that. So I do think that, all those improvements are absolutely, crushing it, getting better from last year. So I think really Hafley's done an amazing job there.
Yeah,
I agree with that point 100%, Emilio. Like offensively, if you can't run the football on a deep defense, how do you pass? It's so hard to throw the ball when you can't chip away with the run game and set up play action or set up any kind of deception. So when your defense can go out there and not give up big chunk plays too often and be good on third downs. That's another thing we did last year. We got off the field on third down a lot more than we had in years past. It kills drives for offenses. So having a good run defense is absolutely clutch.
Yeah, because what happens when they're down 14, Tim? They start running the ball a lot? No. You know what I mean? Like, we are humming that thing to try to get back into this game.
That's right.
Yeah. What do you guys, real quick, think about Mr. Soder's comment here where he says Slayton was on the field for a lot of those run D snaps, need to replace him ASAP? Deadfish went on to say, I hope we don't miss Slayton too much. Could he be a bigger piece of the puzzle that maybe didn't get as much credit as he deserved? And if so, who would you see to slide into that spot and hopefully take over the fact that because if you look at these numbers again, look at that, like 4.0. But what I think is more key, look at that last three again. Want to see why we had a late season resurgence there, and then look at what happened with the last game against Philly. All of a sudden, that pops way up to 5 yards per carry. I think you remember a gentleman named Saquon. He's pretty good. You may have heard of him. It is showing that the way that defensive run game goes is kind of the way the team goes, whether or not it's a win or a loss. So I think I should say, what do you guys think? Because is Slayton a bigger piece than maybe we have accounted for that needs to get replaced, or do you think there's somebody that can fill those shoes?
I think TJ Slayton was certainly that was the best attribute of his game, right? Was his ability in the run fits. I think that's probably where we'll miss him the most in this defense, but I don't think he's 100% irreplaceable. What do you think, Clay?
Yeah, I was a little bit different on this because TJ Slayton to me wasn't as good of a run defender as I think most people thought he was. And there's a big misconception that, all right, TJ Slayton's in there on the rundowns. He's in there with our base defense, which is a minority of the time. We're in nickel the majority of the time. TJ Slayton was not on the field for the nickel defense. Now, with that being said, it was typically Devontae White and Kenny Clark when both were healthy. With that being said, however, I want to point out that with TJ Slayton, I'm trying to pull the numbers here, and I'm having a hard time getting the NFL Pro to load it up. Let me see if I can get it here because I want to make sure I'm certain on this. If I remember correctly, in terms of defensive linemen, TJ Slayton was actually better at rushing the passer than stopping the run. Yeah, this is a wild statistic here. Some people think that TJ Slayton was a bad pass rusher. It simply wasn't the case. When you look at the interior defensive linemen, leading the way with pressure percentage was Devontae White at 9.7%. TJ Slayton was second on the team at defensive tackle with 8.8% pressure rate. The next one closest to him that played his position was Kenny Clark at 6.8%. And I want to say that because whenever they were on the field together, it wasn't just a given that TJ Slayton's going to be playing nose. Sometimes they'd have Kenny playing nose and they'd have TJ Slayton playing kind of that 2-eye look, right? In that 4-3 front. But your nickel defense is going to be on the field the majority of the time. I say that because TJ Slayton is not a 3-down player, although he did have the second most pressure rate, right, amongst interior defensive linemen. All that to be said, the reason I looked at it that way, when we went into the offseason, if you guys remember, I was like, I'd give TJ Slayton $5 million a year. I'd try to bring him back. I felt like he was a key piece to what we wanted to do moving forward. And then, of course, I think he ends up getting $7 million a year. At some point, there's a walking away point,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like they probably eclipsed that, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they wanted to bring him back. There was this big misconception when they drafted TJ Slayton that he's going to be a 34 nose and that's all he's going to be. And the reality is he was a pretty darn good pass rusher from the interior. Better than Kenny last year, but I want to defend Kenny for a minute because, again, this is I didn't wake up this morning and go, I got to figure out a way to make excuses for Kenny Clark. They had him playing one tech in our nickel defense. They had him playing the nose essentially in our nickel 4-2-5 front. And he was asked to do a touch spot a large majority of the time. Now, it has now been mentioned, I think he had a broke toe or something that he was playing with. There was some kind of injury there. So maybe that was their way of going, all right, we know he can go out there and play, yeah, but he can't be effective pushing that pocket like we want him to. Let's let him play more of a touch spy role and help cover the run. And Kenny did play the run fairly well. According to PFF, not the case, but when you look at the metrics here on NFL Pro, he was pretty good in run stops in that regard. But when you look at run stops from the interior, Kenny Clark led the team in defensive tackle with 28 run stops from the interior spot. TJ Slayton had 24 run stops. He was second on the interior. And Devontae Wyatt, who played a significant amount of snaps, although he was hurt. Devontae Wyatt played 101 run defensive snaps as opposed to TJ Slayton's 203. So TJ Slayton played twice as many run defensive snaps than Devontae Wyatt, and Devontae Wyatt only had 4 less run stops than him. So that would suggest if Devontae Wyatt is going to step into that role even in the base defense, and you keep Kenny in the one tech and let it be Kenny and Devontae Wyatt in there in that base 4-3, you're probably going to improve. But Devontae Wyatt has got to stay healthy, and he's got to play fundamentally sound, because the reality is he plays reckless. He's a pass rusher. He wants to pin his ears back and go, 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 right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what the numbers suggest. Again, that's not to try to prove anybody wrong or, I go simply off of what does the tape show me, what do the metrics show me, and it would suggest that TJ Slayton was the second best interior pass rusher on the team behind Devontae Wyatt. So I wish he would have returned, but again, there's got to be a walking away point. If you'd have told me before I made that $5 million statement, you said, would you pay him $7 million? I'd probably go, I don't think I'd pay him that.
No.
Because again, he's going to come off the field in that nickel defense. So that's kind of how I see that. All right, let's move it along. Defense, team, opponent, rushing yards per game. We were 7th. And again, some people look at that as the tell-all, be-all, whatever. 103.2. That was an impressive improvement from the previous year at 127.1. So you jumped to 103.2, and you're wondering what happened to the pass rush. That's what happened to the pass rush. They were keying in on the run, right? But again, being 7th best in terms of opponent rushing yards per game, this is the more important metric right here that we just covered. That's yards per rush attempt. I could care less how much you give up a game. I want to know what you're doing on a snap-by-snap basis. How effective are you at stopping the run? That's the more important metric, but did want to mention the rushing yards per game there. So let's go on to now opponent yards per pass attempt. Well, before we do, running defense, anything else you guys want to add to that whole topic there? Anything we may have missed there?
I would just say that obviously we lost Slayton, and you could, as you just covered, it's probably a little bit of a misconception as to what he did best, but like Coach is talking about, I really got a lot of faith in Brinson and Stackhouse that could be coming in there. I believe even it was Daryl, believe it or not, that says that he saw Stackhouse with some real good run stops. I think that I agree with Daryl. Hell hath frozen over. Me and Daryl on the same side.
But you guys
Stackhouse was my favorite UDFA signing by far.
Tim Love, remember we did a episode and you were like, Stackhouse, I think at that point you still thought he may get drafted.
Yeah.
I would not have been surprised if they had drafted Stackhouse and then signed Warren Brinson as undrafted free agent, right?
Right.
Yep.
The only other thing I'd say to that, Clay, is out of the top 6, we played 3 of them twice, and Josh Jacobs still was a dog in the running game. Looking at it, Minnesota at 93.2 for the year, Philly at 101.8, and Detroit at 103.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? So, like, our offense still against 3, solid units, played them twice, each of them twice during this last season, and still was able to put up some pretty good rushing numbers and some consistency there, which I love.
Yeah. And I will say this, looking at our draft board here, Nazir Stackhouse, we had a 167.2 grade on.
Wow.
Warren Brinson, we had a 178.7. So we did have Stackhouse 1, 2, 3, 4 spots higher than Brinson on our board. Obviously, Goody disagreed tremendously, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if Stackhouse, like Tim was saying, emerges as the better player. We just got to keep him awake on the bench. You know what I mean? With that narcolepsy there. So
one other thing I would say about run defense before we wrap up there is a lot of emphasis gets made on the guys up front, obviously our D line and our D tackles and our edge group, our stack backers. But I can't speak highly enough for the way this secondary has played in the run. Our corners and our safeties coming up and making plays. Yeah, Javon Bullard, Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Carrington Valentine, even, and say what you want. Keyshawn Nixon, man, that guy's a hell of a tackler when he wants to be, especially in the run fit. So I think it's important to note that too, that if you get some good help from your secondary against the run too, it makes you that much stronger. So something to keep in mind going forward.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move it along. Let's get into pass defense now. Defense team opponent yards per pass attempt, we finished 9th, only allowing 6.4. Actually, we were tied. That number's wrong there. We are tied for 8th best at 6.4 yards per pass attempt allowed. That was an increase from 6.7 last year. We brought it down to 6.4 this year. Tied with us was Tennessee and San Francisco. And then starting at the top, Philadelphia 5.6, Houston 6.2, Miami 6.3, the Jets 6.3, the Chargers 6.3, Seattle 6.3, Denver 6.3. So the reality is you were 1/10 of a yard per pass attempt away from being tied for 3rd best in the league. So as good as the run defense was, pass defense improved just as much, man. And again, why did that happen? I don't know. Maybe because you were getting some pressure on the quarterback while playing coverage on the backside with 7. You're not, hey, let's get to the quarterback in less than 2 seconds. It was, hey, let's put 7 in coverage. Let's give the illusion of a blitz. We ran a ton of fire zone blitzes. How many times did you guys hear me say on Chalk Talk last year, 55 drop? That's a fire zone blitz with JJ Enigbare dropping into coverage, right? You're showing a blitz of 5 or 6, and you're really only bringing 4 and dropping 7 into coverage. And when you do that, it really, really puts pressure on the quarterback, especially when he sits in the pocket. Now all of a sudden you look up and someone's in your face because, again, pressure pick, coverage, sack. So why did we get so many interceptions? Why were the yards per pass attempt down so much? Good coverage, which led to us being 8th in the league or 9th in the league in sacks as well. So I think everything came together really, really well. But go ahead, Jacob. You lead us off with this. Or Emilio, let's let Emilio go first. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Emilio.
No, you're fine. Hey, I'm happy again. Top 10 and, a little bit better than last year. So, all the improvements we can make is what needs to happen. Looking at 1 and 2 there, you got Philly and Houston, with Raheem Morris over there and the Super Bowl winners. So I think that obviously there's room to grow. I'm pretty surprised Tennessee's there. But really it's not like there's a huge difference. I mean, the only real outlier is Philly at 5'6", and everybody else is 6.2 to 6.7 in the top 20. So it's not like there's a big, you're talking half a yard there. So I think that we can get it under 6 this year. I'd be super happy.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, and like you said, there's that improvement over from last year, and it's just another interesting looking at that last game against Philly. It's like we were so close, man. We were really so close to just playing a really good game. It was just a few, snaps didn't go our way, but otherwise, I've just been looking at these metrics. It's been a great exercise because I think even myself, who obviously I'm very involved with the Packers, obviously you guys are too. It just didn't register to me that the defense was this good. It just didn't.
Because it got so loud on social media.
It got loud on social media, and that's honestly one of the things where it's like, as much as I love the Packer fandom, there's a certain sector of it that just wants to be miserable, man. And I don't understand. I feel like it's popped up in the last 5 years. And I don't know if it has to do with an Aaron Rodgers thing and if that bleeds into people's whatever types of stances on this or that. We won't mention it because God forbid. But I don't understand the shift. It seemed like we used to be ride or die no matter what type Packer fans. And now it feels like that a certain sector is just permanently miserable.
There's a certain portion of the fan base that doesn't want to admit the defense played well and that their 401k is doing good. Don't want to hear it. So
Exactly.
Tim, what do you got for this, bro?
I would just agree with Andy Monday's comment here. You know, when teams aren't able to run against us, they have to rely on the pass, and that's something that, you know, we're always ready for that, right? We've got the cornerback whisperer as a defensive coordinator. We've got talent back there. So I think that's really the tail of the tape here. And if you're able to chip away in your run defense and not give up big plays, not give up short yardage plays, you know, we saw it a lot last year. We saw a lot of, you know, 3rd and 3s or 3rd and 4s that were not converted. And in previous years, we were getting run right over and it was a first down. So when you take that away, it makes it much more difficult to pass the ball. So I think that's an indictment on your defense as a whole. So if you're hanging around, you know, somewhere near the top 10 in any of these categories, you're doing well. Obviously, you know, the closer to the top, the better. But I have no problem with the Packers hanging around at number 10 here on this list. Hopefully they improve again this year.
Yeah. What Andy Monday said here, when the teams aren't able to run against us, they have to rely on the pass, and we're ready for that. I remember hearing, and I'm not going to mention any names, I'm not trying to cause any beef, but I remember hearing a specific YouTube show, podcast, what have you, the Packers, talk about when Hafley gets here, they're going to run blitz, and it's going to be all aggressive and this. And I'm going, the hell are you talking about? Like, if you play it conservative with the pass rush and contain the run like Hafley did, that's how you set yourself up for success in covering. Like, if you've got a contained rush, if you've got a harness pass rush, right, and you don't get out of your rush lanes, and you're consistently stopping the run, and now they need to go to the pass, you've got 7 in coverage because they're not blitzing like you want them to do every other snap, right? They've got 7 in coverage while you're stopping the run. That's how you play a consistent, safe defense. And the result of that is looking up and going, Hark, we're in the top 5 in just about every statistical category. So, and then, of course, Andy Monday came back and said, sometimes when I read this chat, I feel all wrong. Andy, imagine this. Yeah, that's how I feel. Imagine how I feel trying to do a show, peeping the chat and going, oh, God, don't look back down there, right? And then all of a sudden, I get this red marker off to the side that says private chat, and that's the guys on the show. And I go in there, and it's worse in there than it is with the listener chat.
Amelia's fault.
And I'm going to give you guys a hint. It's not Tim in that chat doing that either. Let's move it along, please. So, all right, next. Opponent passing yards per game, we finished 7th. So comparatively speaking, yards per pass attempt, we finished 9th. We talked about it was 1/10 of a yard away from being tied for 2nd best in the league. This 7th, right there where it needs to be, tied for 7th there at 209.9, which is pretty darn impressive. Emilio, 209 yards passing that you allowed per game. Like, come on, dude. Come on. Tennessee, I have a hard time believing that 177.3 is because they were just awesome against the pass. Probably because teams were running the ball in their throat constantly.
Yeah,
I could be wrong though.
Right, and I think that we saw a little bit of that in Tennessee. But yeah, 209 is not terrible. Again, I can't believe that everywhere we look, we're top 10 in basically everything. So you keep those numbers going into this next year. I think everything is going to kind of sort itself out. The fact that, that last one, 121, that's an outlier, but it's also because they ran 200 plus on us. So that's, something we got to work on. I think it's great to have that on tape. And I think that, we got to protect, like Tim's been saying, protect home. 185 at home. I like that.
Crazy, dude.
I really, really do love that. Under 200 yards, get it cold. Not like we're going to have a lot of cold weather games this year, but just having that environment, that feel, I think it's perfect.
Just a quick glance of it here, Jacob. It looks like we finished 3rd in the NFL in terms of opponent passing yards per game at home.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
That is a crazy metric. That again, I'd say, but I think it's 4th. Whatever, it doesn't matter. If we're anywhere in that top 5 region, that's insane. And again, man, you look at the types of teams that we're surrounded there by. And that last game against Philly, I'll just keep going back to that because it just seems such a weird anomaly. The stat line it doesn't make sense. And then you go back and you have to watch it and you realize that we were so close, man. We really were. real quick, if we beat Philly, do you think there's anybody that's beaten us last year in that playoff game?
Man,
the
right.
confidence, the way, you know what I mean?
It's so obvious that we played Philly better than everybody else in the playoffs. Defensively, offensively, we struggled bad, but defensively, I mean, look at their passing yards, right? If we look at our passing yards allowed in that final game, Philly only threw for 121 yards on us.
That's crazy.
And that's with us stopping their run, too. If you guys remember, we looked at that metric the other day, and maybe we'll get a glance at it here. Actually, let's go back real quick. Remember, we're coming back to opponent passing yards per game. I want to see your rushing yards per game. That last game, no, never mind. So it was 169. I was thinking we were better than that. So we did give up 169 yards rushing. Yeah. So got it. All right. But yeah, we definitely stopped their passing game for sure.
I think to answer Jacob's question, had we beat Philly, that we would have ended up with what, Washington or Detroit after that?
I believe so.
I would have loved to play Detroit a third time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That might have been a dub for us. And who knows, Washington, that we're going to get to see those matchups though this year. It's going to be fun to see us line up against Jaden Daniels and the boys over there in Washington. But yeah, I think it would have been an interesting primer for a potential playoff run last year, Jacob, if we didn't crap the bed on the opening kickoff. And
it's
just
don't.
Go ahead, read that comment. Hit that real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, Mike Berry says 2/3 counts as 65%. Hey, it's pretty good math.
65%.
65%. That's what I was waiting for Tim to hit it, and it didn't go immediately, so I hit it. We hit it right at the same time every time.
You're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
My bad.
Yeah, our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before. So.
Stepping all over you over here, Tim. My fault. Anything else with the opponent passing yards per game there? Not good. All right, let's go to sack percentage. Sacks per game, we talked about this. We finished 9th in sacks per game, right? We had 2.6, which was tied for 9th with the Giants, Seahawks, Tampa Bay we were tied with, and the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Denver led the way at 3.6. However, sack percentage is a little bit more telling, right? Of, okay, here's a more realistic statistic as opposed to a team may get more pass attempts in the game they played you than another team, but when you go in sack percentage, that breaks it down to the per play basis, essentially. But sack percentage, we were 12th in the league at 7.42%. We were slightly up from the year before at 7.44%. But guys, I thought we took a huge step back, right? Now, I'm being a little bit sarcastic because you guys know I rely more on pressures than the sack numbers, and the pressures were down. But I just love throwing this up into the face of the people that are, well, you need to finish. It's all about getting sacks and then about pressures. All right, there you go. There's your sacks. You happy? You know? So, again, finishing 9th per game and 12th in sack percentage. You need to get better. There's no two ways about that, right? But when you look at the tape and you look at what they did against the run, the running game this last year, I would much rather us play defense the way we did last year than just go out, be top 3 in sacks, and let teams run all up and down the field on us in the running game, Jake.
Yes. Emilio, why? That Green Bay percentage there, what pops off the page is like what Greg's saying. The last 3 games, that's a little tough there. Seeing that the pass rush there at the 4.08. And again, that's not everything. That's not talking about pressures and everything, but it did show that was a little bit troublesome. You definitely want to be surging as you're getting down the end of that year. And, like to what you said earlier about how we weren't allowing guys to just pin their ears back and just rush, which if we did, I think we got the guys that could do it. I mean, that was actually, you guys may know this about me. I really love this dude named Brenton Cox Jr. He was known for, that was his biggest weakness, as to one of the reasons why some character concerns made him basically fall out of the draft, being one of the most talented guys, because he didn't care in college. He just pinned his ears back. He rushed past the quarterback. He did the old Tommy Cutlets. He looked backwards and he's like, oh, the quarterback just stepped up in the pocket. Now he's gone. He's either dumped it off for a check down, made a great play, or ran the ball. Brenton Cox Jr. definitely improved that this year. And I have to say that if he was willing to do that, able to do that, that's because the coaching staff probably reiterated that so much. That, hey, we're not playing one-man shows out here on the edge. You can't just shoot off the edge and just say, screw the other, 10 guys on defense. That being said, I do want to see us maybe increase a little bit more of the amount of pressures and stuff that we send off the edge. I look back at Colin Oliver. I'm just so excited to see if he can bring a different type of dynamic to that room. I love Kingsley. I love Rashawn. I love LVN. You guys know I love Cox. So
we know you love A.
What's that, Tim? Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say, we all know you love AFAM too, as well.
All right.
I love Barrel more than
Not put
AFAM.
AFAM's last comment on the
I
screen.
will not. The thing that sticks out to me here too is look at the sack percentage on Jalen Hurts, right? 8.7% in that final game of the season. Am I seeing that correctly? So, and it looks like we got after the quarterback better on the road than we did at home there, although we were better against the run at home than on the road. So in 2023, again, slightly worse, but isn't that amazing, Emilio, that the number is that tight? 7.44 to 7.42. And if you read social media, you would think that we took this huge step backwards.
Right, because I think that Hafley was able to get it from not just the front four, because we had problems with the front four, right? So you got to bring those fire zone, you got to bring a cat blitz, you have to bring a nickel, you got to bring somebody down, and you're still looking at a total sack percentage being at 12th. That's no problem. If you're looking at the front four sack percentage, all right, we're probably 15, 18, maybe 20, depending. But it doesn't matter if we're still getting the sacks in total. I think that, maybe we take a little bit from the Rams. I know they have some dogs up front, but they can really spin it and get going there. And Dallas has Micah. So you're just kind of looking to see how are these teams getting there. New York Giants have their 3-tech, Baltimore, bunch of dogs. So it's like, what do we need to do for our team to get us, to climb up into that 8%? And I'd be happy with it.
Yeah. All right. Sacks per game we hit on. We finished 9th there. Let's move on now to defensive team opponent average team passer rate. And Tim, I want to get your take on this one. You guys know I love this statistic. I love, especially with cornerbacks, kind of diving into the cornerback room and going, okay, who had the lower passer rating when targeted, that type of thing. The Packers ended up finishing 11th in average passer rating allowed at 89.3. Obviously, that's significantly better from the 93.7 in 2023. Jeff Hafley doing amazing things here. And you really less than one point keeps you out of the number 8 spot, essentially, right? So obviously the passer rating when targeted or average team passer rating allowed improves significantly as well.
I think when you look at this metric, you want to be, at or below that 85, 80, 84 kind of range. Any step in the right direction is going to be huge for us. I think if we can crack the top 10 in this, passer rating, I mean, it's going to prove to show that what Hafley's trying to do, especially with the secondary, is actually working. So I would look for them to take a step, because you're right. 93.7 to an 89.3, that's significant. I mean, that's not a couple of points. That's significant improvement. So if you can go, 89.3 to a 84, 85 and continue to get better, I think we're looking good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jacob. You got anything?
Yeah, again, it's just you look at that the 89.3 and then what happened in the last 3 games, and then that last game. It's funny how these metrics show you like a puzzle piece, like a summary of kind of like what happened in those games. But like Tim said, I think that's pretty impressive. And if we do even take a tiny step, that I liked what he said, that like that, even though it's a couple percentage points, whatever you want to call it, that probably equates to like game-changing plays. You know what I mean? Certain situations where, I mean, hell, we looked at it so many times where 1, 2, 3 plays determine the outcome of a game. So with that metric, if you can improve a certain percentage of just the way your team is performing, and I love the fact that Hafley was more of like a cornerback whisper, and everybody we went into the season thinking like, oh, this is gonna be great, and then he kind of lost. I think it's partly because Ja wasn't so prevalent in the secondary, and we had a lot of quote unquote issues there that I don't think Hafley got enough credit for actually helping that secondary along quite a bit. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like people, I think, are sleeping on the fact that those guys made substantial improvements.
Emilio, you got anything, bro?
Just trying to take a peek at kind of everybody's number from last year. It doesn't look like, there's a lot of fluctuation besides Washington and Arizona getting, Washington with the new coach there. And I think that, we can't be mad at 89%. If we get into 10, cool, but I'm not anything under 98. I think you'd be happy with. And it's not like getting us to 81 at Houston is going to make that much of a difference. I think that is something that we just kind of need to, keep on and keep letting Hafley and everybody else do their thing back there, because with that secondary, it really has taken off.
Yeah, for sure.
Can I even put Rick? I don't know if I can put Rick's comment on the screen, Clay. You tell me if I can or I can't.
It's 2025. I don't know if we can or not, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
People would not have survived growing up in the 90s, because I hear some of the stuff that's not allowed to be said today, and I'm like, boy, got some thin skin. And I know it was even rougher in the 80s and the 70s, I'm sure. But anyway, Emilio, what's wrong with your people out here, buddy?
We're going to give him some.
That's exactly what we're going to do.
Dramatic pause. All right, that's pretty much everything that we had to cover in terms of the defensive deep dive. Is there anything else you guys want to revisit here? Let's just get kind of everybody's parting thoughts on the defense before we move along here. We'll start with you this time, Tim. It's good to have you back in the fold, big dog, for sure. But,
feels good to be back.
Yeah.
Happy to touch the ball again. Just wrapping up the defensive talk, I think, Clay, we just talked about the secondary. We talked about Goody basically, in one offseason flipping our safety room. And I think it's real easy to kind of let a couple of really good drafts, picks, and then a great free agent signing kind of overshadow the fact that you brought a first-year coordinator in here and he absolutely coached these guys up and had them ready to play ball. Coach Derek Ansley deserves a lot of credit as well, especially when you're talking about in the passing game. So we really have to credit our defensive staff. We've got some new faces in the mix this year. It'll be fun to watch them. But definitely hats off to Coach Half, man, for getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Emilio, anything else you want to add to the defensive talk here, man?
No, all I'm seeing from all these numbers is where's the tattoo, Jacob? I mean, seriously. That's all I got out of this.
We'll take your word for it. I don't want to see it.
That's all I got out of this section was.
Hey, Tim, if I got to do it, you got to see it. All right. And I'm going to open up your eyes.
Look at the bottom of the screen right now. If the Packers have a top 7 scoring defense, I'll get an Emilio tattoo on my left butt cheek. PTH.
Did they have a top scoring defense? Is that what? Did we conclude that?
Oh my gosh! Yes, we concluded that. Stop it.
It was. I thought there was a sub.
Some
note.
say that there's no evidence. We saw the evidence.
Jacob,
people have the evidence.
There was an addendum. There was a clause in there that said if Emilio's not on a certain amount of podcasts per season, it's null and void. That's what I thought at least. No, I'm gonna get it. If my grandpa's listening, I'm just kidding. But I'm gonna get it. All right, I'm gonna make you guys see it too.
Just remember, Jacob, do the tattoo artist a favor, okay?
Tan almost everywhere. Jan almost everywhere.
Make sure you hit that tandem band for you.
Remember,
I'm trying to get a good base.
Remember, you can actually
Wisconsin cheeks. All right.
You can leave your pants on as well.
Nope, I go little kid at the urinal, full down.
It's just
I'd prefer if you left them on.
I'm Andy Bernard in that sucker. All right, it's already down. Feel the wind.
I think everybody. Remembers as a young child, going to grade school, middle school. Everyone probably experienced that one time that a classmate, you walk in the bathroom, you're like, "What the hell is he doing?"
Bro, my brother did it till he was like 10.
He was like 26.
We took him to the Metrodome once, and my dad was like, "All right, Sam, do your stuff," and he just drops trout. He's like, "What are you doing?"
I learned it from watching you, Dad. Oh. Anything else, boys? Anything else at all with the defense before we move along here, and we'll kind of end with the chat. We're good.
I think we're good.
All right, good deal. That was fun, though. It was fun to kind of go through that deep dive for sure. Now we got OTAs coming up here in the next couple of days, so we'll get you guys and gals some updates there. Let's go to the chat. We had a couple things marked earlier. Elder Grimm said, it's my 37th birthday today, so I decided to grace you. I don't know if I can say that. Is that okay to say that?
I don't even know what it means.
I don't either. We'll just say, grace you guys with my presence, because be my luckiest.
Happy
Not
birthday.
appropriate. So happy birthday, Elder Grimm. Happy birthday.
birthday.
sir. Yeah, appreciate
birthday.
you spending it with us, man, for sure. Holmes MD1 said earlier, is Excelio the current Madden stud on this pod? Clay
Yeah.
was, but not sure
No,
how
Clay's nice.
Blue rates out. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
man.
plays in rookie.
We never played any,
Spoiler alert, I am ranked exactly last.
Yeah.
Tim said we're in rebuild mode, right, Tim?
Yeah,
It's been a
exactly.
while since you got the Madden sticks up, so you're getting
Yeah.
your feet back under you. Emilio is probably the best of the group because he plays online a lot. And you know how those online gamers are. They're cheesy as hell.
Oh.
I mean, it's just the same play over and over and over and hot route central. I've had people ask if I would stream Madden on the channel. The problem I've got is I've got Madden on PC, and we've got this thing modded to where literally there's a whole bunch of copyright infringement going on. Like my Madden plays with the Fox Sports telecast and everything. It's like souped up. I've got literally all the real ads across Lambeau Field, American Family Insurance, shout out, sponsor the show, stuff like that. So you can get in trouble for broadcasting those games with that sound and those graphics and everything. But I play offline, and I do it more of a simulation style, like letting Matt LaFleur's playbook call the plays and trying to work the real offense and this and that. Emilio would get in here, call the same 3 plays, and smoke my head, I would imagine. So.
No, I mean, I appreciate that, Clay, but I never played Madden Pro, so I think that I think I'd have to give it to you. But you are right; they are sweaty online. They kick it to the corner so you can't return it, and all the cheap over the top. If you're not running cover 4, they'll burn you. If you run cover 2, you might as well not even run it. So it's either 0 man or cover 4. That's pretty much all you can call.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what the online kind of gaming community has come down to. So I stay out of those waters. And again, I was in I think it was the Madden 09 tournament in Atlanta, and I made it to the final. I think it was the final 6, the final 4, final 6, the way the seeding worked. But the guy who beat me, and this was the last Madden tournament I entered, the guy who beat me ended up going on to finish second in the entire tournament in Atlanta, and there was hundreds of people down there. But the way he beat me, this is a true story. Literally, they made you play like 2 or I think it was 4-minute quarters, right? It was something crazy. It wasn't simulation at all. And the guy came out, got the ball first, ran a fullback dive, set the controller down, and let the clock run all the way down. Ran another fullback dive, set the controller down, let the clock run all the way down. It was like that the whole game. So like each of us got like maybe 2 possessions.
Oh, I hate that.
I literally looked at him. I looked over him. I went, "Are you serious?" And he went, "Man, I'm just trying to get that bread, bro. I'm trying to get that bread." That's all it was about. I was like, never doing this again. So anyway, it's a bad experience. Jacob, how are you off of what is it, rookie mode yet, or what mode you playing on right now?
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I like to build my own team, and then I like to increase all my players, and I like to change their names, make them all into something either real funny or just really inappropriate.
Oh, God.
Like my kicker will be like 6'7", 300 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying. That's what I like to do, but I'm weird,
Love it. Oh man.
If you're listening on the pod, you guys got to check us out on YouTube because Tim's drops go not noticed on the audio version only. Yes, yes.
I promise you, nobody's listening on the pod now. They tuned out about 10 minutes ago.
Right.
All right, we're done. The information's gone now. So, and that kind of goes hand in hand with what. Oh, you're good, man. Eric Sutherland says, "I don't play video game. I like girls." Of course, Eric would say that. Holmes in the chat said, "Allow me to take a moment to thank the producers of the show. If y'all find them, thank them for me too. I don't think we have it. It always sucks. The chat sucks worse, and those involved are heathens. Bravo, big ups. So appreciate you, Holmes. I think that's a compliment. I believe
It's fairly true.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
It is.
So.
Yeah, no, it
Tim's thinking, all right, boys, it's time for me to take another 2-week vacation.
Seriously.
I forgot about that. This sucked. So, all right. Anything else, boys? Anything at all?
No.
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 Way to go.
No.
Click the like button if you're still here. Join the Patreon group.
Oh, there we go. That's a good
We
one.
just-
Tim. I got you here.
We just got 3 unlocks, by the way. So now, so yeah, if you want to support the show and what we do here, the best way to do that is go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or scan the QR code in the upper right. If you join that community, $3 get you access to everything on the site, get you entered into the giveaways. We're going to be doing a giveaway this Saturday, an autographed Lucas Van Ness rookie card that was donated by the very own Rick Kruger, who's in the chat. Appreciate him.
Thank
And
Rick.
basically the way it works is if you're a member of the $3 tier, we take everybody's name, put it on a wheel, spin it, whoever it lands on, the card will go to. And we're going to be doing giveaways every Saturday for probably the next at least 2 or 3 months. So got a lot of giveaways coming up here. Really, really cool cards in here too. So
Increasing my chances, so that's good. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Emilio,
we're eligible, 100%.
I'm 100% eligible.
I wonder how many fake accounts that Jacob and Emilio have in there. Just trying, because they know they're not getting any of the giveaways. So we'll definitely do a background check on that and make sure we don't give anything. Yeah. With that being said, I think we're done here. Again, special shout out to Mac. Appreciate them over at the awesome group that we're doing the giveaway for there as well. Just a way for us to give back to that awesome community. Again, that's My Autism Connection, building hope, community, and independence for autistic adults. Make sure you go to my Twitter page and put yourself into that giveaway. It's a great cause to donate to, and for every $5 you donate, your name will get entered into the contest one time. And we're going to be giving away an autographed Dorsey Levens jersey. Just make sure that the name you put in that has PTA at the end of it. So there you go.
Nice.
Nice.
And believe it or not, somehow Mac has been with us throughout this whole episode. They said they love the chat. They love everything we're doing. I don't know why, but we appreciate you quite a bit.
That chat, you got to be careful with that chat. They get, we need to start putting a disclaimer up at the beginning of the show. We are not responsible for what happens in the chat.
Why do you think it's not on the screen anymore? You know?
We tried that for a few days.
We did this really cool feature. Look at this right here, man. And of course, the first thing, blasphemy. All right. So we got this cool feature where the chat goes up on the screen. Boy, that lasted about 2 seconds. We went, yep, that's not a good idea. Let's just
not with this chat. No.
All right. Appreciate everybody. We will be back tomorrow, somewhere between 6:30, maybe 7 p.m. Central. We'll let y'all know. I'll try to get the time edited as soon as we come up with the more accurate start time for the show. We're trying to go a little earlier. I think that works out best for everybody. So with that being said, everybody have a great night. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack.
There we go. Bye, guys.